This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. Today's discussion is one of my favorite topics, and this topic is going to be trial and error and the perfectionist. So one of the great challenges that people that are very perfection-oriented have, aside from this concept is great is the enemy of the good and things like that, is this concept of sometimes not wanting to try different things for fear of failure. And many people suffer from this. And the reality is life is not sort of a binary single track. There's no way around the fact that there's going to be some trial and error in life, even if you're a brilliant perfectionist. And sometimes that effort towards perfectionism can get in the way of people trying different things that might really work for them professionally, personally, and in multiple different ways. So this concept of trial and error in the perfectionist, I think the most important thing is the more you err towards being a perfectionist, the more you have to be willing to say, okay, I'm going to do 80% of stuff in the lane that I'm comfortable with, stay in my lane, but I'm going to periodically have to step out of that lane and try some different things. And if I fail, it's okay. And this is, of course, one of the discussions people have about helicopter parents. Everything's got to be perfect for everybody. But the reality is the more that you learn to try and fail some, the way better off you're likely to be, and the more you're going to be satisfied in life, and the more you're going to find your true thing. And the real answer is there's often not a true thing. It's an ongoing investigation and effort. Now, I suffer. Certainly, I'm not a perfectionist, but I hate to miss. I hate to do things wrong. I hate to lose. And it has held me back in certain areas. I certainly have not taken the chances I could. I mean, a perfect example would be anybody will tell you that's played a lot of sports with me that I should play more aggressively in certain ways, but I'm more concerned about missing than I am about being absolutely great. And it's an error. It's almost it's led me to safety in a lot of spots, but it's also led me to not reach as good a potential as I can. And that's not the purpose of this, but I do like to often bring in the faults in my personal sports and other activities because there are a lot of them. But in any event, the concept of trial and error in the perfectionist, I think this is so important. It's so important for young adults trying to figure out what they're going to do for life. What we say to people is your first job is really unlikely to be your last job. So don't worry about it so much. Take the job, get to work, and you'll start to figure it out. And it's very similar to so many different things in life. If trial and error and the perfectionist is a challenge for you, then it is constantly thinking about how do I sort of soften that some so I'm willing to take on trial and error in all kinds of things, professionally, personally, all across the board. Hitting this balance is so important. I love this thought, trial and error in the perfectionist. I see where I fall short. I think it's so important for others to be willing to take some of that trial and error. It doesn't mean you're taking huge, crazy risks. We're not a fan of that. But some risk, some understanding that life is trial and error is so important. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Becker Private Equity Podcast. Again, if you listen to this all the way through, and you're the first person to listen all the way through, and you send me a text, 773-766-5322, and you haven't claimed the gift certificate in a long time, we'll send you a $100 Amazon gift certificate. Thank you so much for listening to the Becker Private Equity Podcast.